Right, welcome everybody. Good evening. Maybe I should just start off by introducing myself. I am the person that it says I am. My name's Donna Covey, and I have the tremendous honour and privilege to be the Chief Executive of the Refugee Council, which is the leading charity working with refugees and asylum seekers in the UK. And I'm absolutely delighted to welcome you all here to this event this evening, marking the 60th anniversary of the signing of the UN Refugee Convention, at this absolutely gorgeous venue that I must emphasise has been lent to us for free by Brunswick PR. And I would like to thank Frank Villas, the MD of the Lincoln Centre, for arranging that for us. The UN Refugee Convention was drawn up after the Second World War, because people said, never again. Never again would people perish, not because they couldn't escape persecution, but because a safe country turned them away and would not let them in. And that convention has saved millions of lives across the world. And it saved tens of thousands of lives of people who have sought safety in the UK. From the Hungarians in the 1950s, the first group we worked with, to the Vietnamese in the 70s, the Kosovans in the 90s. And in more recent years, we've worked with Sri Lankans and Somalis and Zimbabweans. Because this year is also the 60th birthday of the charities that came together to form the Refugee Council. And as long as there is war, prejudice and persecution in the world, people will need the protection of the Convention. And as long as people need the protection of the Convention, they will need the support of the Refugee Council to help them navigate the British asylum system, to make sure the UK gives them the protection they need, to help them rebuild their lives through English language classes and employment support, and to provide therapeutic support when they've been traumatised through rape, torture or the murder of their family. And you know, these are tough times for the 15 million refugees around the world. And it's tougher than ever for us to support the 20,000 a year who actually make it to the UK. Because for many years, we had to rely on government funding. Because refugees and asylum seekers were so vilified in politics and parts of the media that was the only reliable source of funding for us. But thanks to many of our supporters and our work to change attitudes, like the 100% British campaign we ran for Refugee Week, and I do hope that some of you saw our tube posters, those attitudes are changing. And your presence here today is testament to that change. But even as we've been working to change attitudes, the rug has been pulled out from under our feet. And we, along with our partner charities, lost 2/3 of our government funding overnight this year. Now, we've done our best to minimise the direct impact on refugees and asylum seekers through developing a new telephone-based advice service and slashing back office costs to the bone. But that on its own is not enough, because you know, all refugees and asylum seekers are different. They're individuals with complex and harrowing stories, and you're going to hear Yukai's story in a minute. And our real fear today is about the people who will fall through the gaps of what government is prepared to fund. And that's why it's more important than ever that we have independently funded projects to support the people whose needs are ignored by government. Projects like our Therapeutic Casework Unit, which provides intensive counselling support to refugees who need that to help rebuild their lives. At the moment for us, this is a small team who, through their patience and their compassion, transform the lives of people who have been raped or tortured or seen their loved ones massacred. We want more refugees to benefit from this support because they need it. And it costs us £650 on average to support one person in this way, a small amount to change a life. And our work with children who have been wrongly treated as adults by the border agency and as a result are often locked up in detention. We have one staff member working with these children at the moment, and he alone got 48 children reassessed last year. That was almost 90% of the cases he took. Now, we suspect, from our experience, that there are still hundreds of children wrongly locked up with adults in the asylum system because they have not been believed by the UK Border Agency. And we desperately need a second staff member to work with Francesco so they can be released too. And £55,000 would allow us to do that. And that would double the number of asylum-seeking children being supported by social services and having access to education, instead of being locked up in a strange country because they dared to ask for help. And our day centre in London, that every week provides essential food to hundreds of asylum seekers and refugees left destitute because they have fallen through gaps in our system. It costs us over £3,000 a week to keep this open, and we do all of that with voluntary donations. Donations from people like Lawrence Staden, who unfortunately couldn't be with us here this evening, who through his GLC Charitable Trust has set up an anniversary match fund. And what that means is we can double the value of many of the donations that are made to us during our anniversary year. And you know, the UN Convention gives people the right to seek asylum, to ask for safety when they're at risk of persecution, because they come from the wrong ethnic group or religion, or stood up against a dictator, or for fairness, or just because they're in the wrong place at the wrong time. But it's the Refugee Council that makes sure that safety is granted, both through our campaigning to improve the asylum system and our practical support to individuals, that helps people rebuild their lives and is a friend to people in need who arrive here to be faced by hostility and misunderstanding. Because whatever refugees in the UK need, whether it's practical advice on how to claim asylum or learn English, emotional support or food and shelter, at the Refugee Council, we're here for them. And so it's great this evening to see so many of you here for us, including our next speaker. And it gives me great pleasure to introduce to you the campaigner, writer and human rights activist, Jemima Khan.